the green card line is so long and it's gonna take forever, and I'm gonna lose my prime years of life if I'm gonna keep on waiting for it. So I just decided, okay, no, that this is not for me. But I love the fact that even if I move like 20 minutes from here, then I can cut that number in half. So I have that flexibility, I have that control, which it wasn't the case when I was in US. The bare minimum was pretty high wherever I lived. Mistake I did though, like buying this flat right when I got the job. So I got into like the huge debt for 3 to 4 years. While moving, I was like totally not sure if this is gonna be for me or not, because everyone keeps on saying that, oh, you're not gonna get used to India once you lived in US. If you work for 8 years and if you are like close to it, you might just wanna finish those 40 points and then move, because it's a big amount to let go. A couple of years back, I came to India for 3 months. I took like unpaid leave, and I did a trial run, kind of like, I mean, I just wanted to see like how my life is now that I have money. Then it actually like changed my perspective when I was deciding it, because one of my major challenge while deciding it was who to ask, because I knew no one who moved to India. And then people thinks that, oh, that's a crazy idea. Why would you do that? No one does that. So I was like, but why no one does that? I didn't know that. And then later, like this year, I found your page and
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Desi Return. Today, we have Tejas on our show. Tejas went to US for his master's, and after completing the master's, worked there for more than a decade, spent close to 11 years before deciding to move back to India. As a part of the move, he wants to achieve financial independence, retire early so that he can follow his passions. And I'm really looking forward to this discussion from someone who was in an IT background, who wants to follow his passion in the creative world, and how he planned on the FIRE journey and how he is achieved, and any insights that he can provide on that. With that, welcome Tejas to the show.
hey, hi Avinash, how are you doing?
Good. So let's start a bit about your background, Tejas, your education, what made you to move to US, and so on.
Yeah, sure. So while I was doing my engineering in computer science, I was looking at the numbers of the entry level salaries, and I was not sure if I would be able to uh, buy a property in India or whatever. In that, like, if it will take like more years in general. So I decided to like go for the masters and like speed that up so that I can at least get comfortable as soon as possible. And that's where I think the thought of fire journey started. The fire lingo is pretty newer, so I got exposed to it like probably like 3 or 4 years back when everyone was talking about it online. But I kind of was following those rule and discipline throughout my career in general. But then I decided to go for my master's in computer science, and then decided to stay there for work. Um, I didn't plan anything while going, like until when I'm gonna live there, or when I'm gonna come back to India. I was just going with the flow. But after going there, I realized like it's fine. I mean, I think I was the life was okay. I mean, but it was not like there was always pros and cons for both sides. So I decided. So over the time, I decided to like retire early and then do something which which intrigues me. Yeah.
Got it. So went for masters, worked there for quite a few years. So how
Mhm.
was the life in general in US, and when did the idea of moving back to India occur? Because you said you didn't had any plans while going there. So how is life going, and then when this thought even occurred to you?
Yeah, I mean, life was good in general, no complaints. I mean, life was pretty easy. Work-life balance was good. Uh, Everything was fine. It's just in general, I didn't like the H1B trap. I felt like, first of all, like I didn't even like the 9 to 5 gig. I think I'm a free bird. I wanted to I don't like to be in a contract with any entity in general. So 9 to 5 job was, I realized that it's not for me. I want to retire early anyways. And then on top of that, H1B was restricting a lot of my freedom. In general, like even if I was in tech, I couldn't like explore opportunities by taking risk. Always had to like play safe. uh, and I didn't like that because it's just, I felt I couldn't use the potential as much as I could if I didn't have these visa restrictions. So I just thought like, this is not a place for me. I mean, I was hoping for like maybe in 10 years I will get a green card or citizenship or something like that, and then I'll have more freedom. That's why that's what my hope was. But the green card line is so long and it's gonna take forever, and I'm gonna lose my prime years of life if I'm gonna keep on waiting for it. So I just decided, hey, no, that this is not for me. I mean that even if I get green card in next 5 to 10 years, I'll again have to live for 5 more years in order to get the citizenship. Um, and I didn't feel that it was worth it. So, but life in general was good, but it was monotonous. It was restrictive. The traveling was a hard part because every time the stamping, and then you just end up not doing any plans. It's not like a prison that you're trapped, but it's just the choice you make is in general, like, because it's just so much hassle. Even if you want to go to the Europe, then you're gonna get a Schengen visa, which is gonna be then another city. Like the embassy is gonna be another city. You have to fly there. Then you have to get visa. Then you have to come to India. Then go to stamping, and again, and then there are not many vacations in US in general. I used to take unpaid leaves anyways because I thought it was important, but it's just the traveling restrictions wasn't so. I couldn't even use that money as I could, right? So I think over the time I felt like, oh, this H1B thing is not going to work out for me. So
Got it. So if you're okay, again, just to confirm from an immigration side, you have your I-140 approved, but again, you don't want to wait for your green card to come available like in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it like. I mean, you just don't want to have that restricted. You want the flexibility to choose what you want to do. And I think
yeah.
that's the motivation for you to, kind of think about moving out of US. If you're relocating to India after years abroad, listen up. I have created something that will absolutely save you precious time that most NRIs waste while Googling. This is based on my interaction with hundreds of people about their move back journeys and uncover the biggest frustrations NRIs face when planning their return. So I came up with something that can help: a 15-week email series, a free step-by-step roadmap to address these challenges and make your move back smoother and stress-free. Whether you're moving back for family, retirement, or visa related reasons, we got you covered. Here is what you will get each week: actionable tips to decide if moving back is the right choice, strategies to plan your move back, whether it's from logistics, career, financial, tax planning, how to choose the best school for your kids. And we also have several checklists that help you with the move from a financial, logistics, and much more. This isn't just an advice, it's carefully crafted roadmap to save you time, reduce stress, and help you make better decisions. Ready to plan your move with the confidence? Click the link below in the description to join for free and start receiving actionable strategies right in your inbox.
Yes, that was primary reason, and also like even though if so, I wanted to all come back to India in general, anyways, for to pursue my creative fields. That's gonna talk about later. But I think even if even if I got the citizenship in US, I think the double taxation part was something I wasn't like comfortable with. So I would rather go for citizenship with some other country where I don't have the double taxation thing. If you are aware of that, wherever you live in the world, you have to pay taxes in US and wherever you live, right? So by the time you're 50s and 60s, your income bracket is going to be more, and then you're going to end up paying taxes on the both sides. That then again you gonna rethink about the citizenship, right? So that was another reason that I wasn't that keen towards living back in US, just for that reason. Yeah.
Okay, just to maybe one key information there. I think even if you become an US citizen, you have to file your taxes on the global income. But if you pay taxes, you will get credited because of the double taxation avoidance treaty that's there between India and US. But for sure, to your point, yeah, whichever taxes is higher, you have to pay those taxes, irrespective, even if you're not living in that country. So
Mhm.
that sounds great. So I know you moved early this year, like it's been about a year. So when did the thought of moving occur to you? Like, was it like 4 years, 5 years, or is it just like something that you planned quickly? Anything that you can talk about your planning and when this thought occurred and how did you go about it?
So over the time, I always knew that I want to at some point move here. Like I said, like probably get a citizenship and then have some freedom, then move around like 40s of my age or something like that. But the last year, I was like just running some numbers, and I think the fire number I had in my mind was crazy. Like I don't know why I had that. It was like crazy in multi-millionaires or something, and then because of that I thought like, oh, maybe until 40 I'll probably reach there, and then that's why I was like working towards it. But then I started following the fire community online on the Reddit and the YouTube, and there is a bunch of resources online right now. And then the formula was like just made it easy to calculate, like annual expense into 25. And then I thought like that is achievable. Like I mean, I yeah, last year when I made the number, I was closely towards it, but now I'm comfortably like I can say achieve that number. So I thought I was just overthinking, and I was you don't need like crazy number to retire in general. So when I realized that, and then I realized while I'm single, I can move around. I have the freedom to do anything, and I have energy and excitement to go around places and do things. And I just decided to do it within a year. So
Makes
yeah.
sense. So it's the idea of like when is the right time to move is the realization of that happened in last year, and then you just executed on that.
Hmm.
So let's talk a little bit on this fire thing. So if
Hmm.
you're open, you can talk about like maybe a calculation from an expenses on how much it would cost to live in a city in India,
Hmm.
and the multiple. So if you can talk through that, like what is that you went through in your thought process on seeing like what is that number where you are comfortable to make that plunge to move to India, where that fire number would work.
Yeah, and again with that, I think I was overestimating numbers before coming here. After moving here, I realized that the number are highly flexible. You can take a control of it, and it's easy to cut down on numbers if you really want to. So cost-wise, I'm living in Mumbai, which is probably the most expensive city uh, uh, in India, or even in the world, probably one of the. But I think that's why the number are a little bit higher. But I love the fact that even if I move like 20 minutes from here, then I can cut that number in half. So I
Hmm.
have that flexibility, I have that control, which kinda it wasn't the case when I was in US. The bare minimum was pretty high wherever I lived. So, and also like having a family house in India helps, that you have that mental security in your head that even if something goes wrong, you always have a place to go to. So that's another aspect that gives you a peace of mind. The cost wise, I mean, talking about cost, I think I keep my budget around like 2 lakh a month. But I later realize, however I spend it, I don't reach that number. Like I spent my like I spent on like a lot of leisure things, fine dinings a month, in single month, to just see like how can I stretch it. But it's fine. It barely touches that number. The rent is probably the major part in it. So apart from rent, I think within a lakh you can easily, for a single person, you can
Yeah.
easily like enjoy things and eat out and everything. And if you wanna cut down on expense, just eating at home is pretty inexpensive in general. But I think my calculation was in general was the monthly expense into the 25. But also I wanted to keep 1 lakh budget each month just for the travel, so that I can travel around the world wherever I want to. Because one thing I wanted to do before moving to India was I didn't want to have any regrets. Like, oh, if I was in US, I would have spent on this. I would have gone to this place, or I had ate at this place. So I just wanted that peace of mind that I don't, it doesn't really matter. I'm still living the same life. Of course, you can't compare life like exact to exact. Like, you can't have a single family home in Mumbai, but you can live in a really prime area with a tiny apartment, but it's still the access to things is gonna be still better. So but the cost varies significantly throughout the cities, tier two cities, tier cities. My mom dad lives in Pune, and the cost and the standard of living is completely different. It's probably like 1/3 of what I'm spending here.
Yeah.
So it depends. So it depends on where you wanna live, and because of I wanted to be close to the creative field. I think I chose Mumbai, and I grew up around here, so I was more familiar with it. That's why I had some higher fire number in my mind. Otherwise, just moving to India in some other city is fairly easier if you're working in US. Yeah.
Got it. So I think just to summarize, I think for a single person living in Mumbai, if you keep the rent aside, which is a big major factor, and because of the, depending on the location and so on, it could vary. 1 lakh is a good number to plan for, the budget for a monthly expenses with any additional money for your travel and so on. I think that has been your experience, and definitely that number changes if you go to tier 2, tier 3 city, and the standard of living can change, dynamically, I think, drastically. Um, was there, I know you kind of mentioned about this fire, like even when you're going to US, right? I mean, you have always have this, like, if you want to have a house, how quickly that I can achieve. So you are financially savvy, or, thinking along those lines from a beginning. How have you planned your investments or your things like in US to achieve this fire number? Is there something that you have followed, or you split between India and US, or primarily focused in US? Anything that you can share, like, how you planned and achieved this fire as a journey?
Yeah, sure. So I think the most of my, like almost all of my investments are in US. There was only one investment I did, which was buying a flat, like a condo in India, which didn't really appreciate at all. But my mom dad lives there now, so I think that's probably worth it. But that is but apart from that, most of my investments are in the US. I think the one mistake I did though, like buying this flat right when I got the job. So I got into like the huge like a debt for 3 to 4 years, and then until then I couldn't buy a property in US, or I couldn't do any investment here because the loan APR was so high in India, and I wanted to just pay it off as soon as possible. So that is the one mistake I did. I'm not saying I regret it. It definitely had a lot of pros about having the mental peace and taking risk after that. But I think I could have grown that number way more than what it is right now, and then buy the flat after like 5 years,
Sure.
probably down the road. So that was one retrospectively mistake I did. But after that, once I had a flat in India, and I was like, okay, I have a property in India to go to. So even if something goes wrong, even if my H1B doesn't get picked up, I don't have to worry about it. And that was another reason I got a flat, because I was on OPT and I didn't know that if I would get H1B or not, because there was a competition. So I wanted some place when I go back to India. And so after that, like I had some security back in my head, and I started taking risk. I started investing in risky assets, and I think I initially started investing heavily, and then like the IT during last decade was really a good time for to be in US, and I think my investments grew way more than average returns. Uh, After that, I think what we did, like we got a property of the money we invested in, And then you basically had to do the 20% down payment, but we only did 10% and chose to pay the PMI. And I again reinvested that another 10% in market on the heavy assets, like a risk heavy assets, and I almost doubled that money within 2 years. Then again, I put the down payment for second house, and that was again 15% because the PMI was so high. And then I locked in another a good interest rate back there. So the one first house is almost like paying for itself, and the another house, which was a little higher on the mortgage side, but it was fine because I know it was a longer run, and the properties were in Seattle, so I know the with the tech bubble and Silicon Valley, I think it's they call it like Silicon Valley in the forest. So the market is always gonna be booming in Seattle. That is kind of like a major portion of my portfolio, where the property rates grew in Seattle, and I was fortunate to be in Seattle at that time. Now, other than that, then now that I have that in place, I usually just do the risky asset investments. So and over the time, doing this with the discipline, I'm getting good at it, and now I know what to do, what not to do. I understand the psychology of the market and psychology of each stocks, what it does. So I think it's just took the practice. I didn't plan how I would do it, but over the time, doing that consistently kind of like made me better at it. So now, in a way, the properties are going to be for the long term, where I can retire on it probably if it goes well. And the other investments are going to be like for my expenses and whatever things I want to do in life. Yeah.
Great. No, thanks a lot for such a detailed overview and how you approached it. So, am I assuming that the two properties that you have in US, are you renting them out through a property management company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have a really trusted broker in Seattle, and yeah, they take care of it very well. Like,
Okay, and it's been going fine for you.
yeah, so far, yes.
Okay, that's
I
fantastic.
made sure like I always chose to buy a property in a really good school district, so
Yeah,
that you attract a good tenant, you attract the good prices. So even though if there is a price plateau going on in the market, that market always stays good. So yeah, that was one of my key point. I was okay to cut down on other aspects like interior, square feet, but the lot size and the neighborhood was the most important things for me to buy a property.
makes sense. So yeah, let's talk on the career side, the transition. So I'm assuming you left your corporate world because you said you have a passion for the creative side and you want to have the financial independence. So you left the corporate world and moved to India. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how is the career transition? I think, how is this, going for your passion, working out, like what progress you made, anything that you can share to give some encouragement for people who have these things on what they can do.
Yeah, sure. So the thing is, like, since I worked for a decade, I wanted to take a break, like real break, and not think about what next, because once I have in my mind what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna take actions, and I'm gonna be restless for it. So I took a break entire this year. I didn't do anything. I just chilled. I traveled a few places, and yeah, I was trying to get settled in the new place too. So I think, but from like last 1 or 2 months, I started doing the networking, just because I think I'm done with the sabbatical now, and I wanna get to the creative field. But that's why I chose to live in Mumbai, where I could meet people around. I could have the people. So there are a lot of the creative people lives around here. So you tend to meet them around at friends' place, at the party, or wherever, and that is helpful. And then having the exposure of this surrounding motivates you to do things. So I met a couple of people in a brewery once, and they told me like what to read, what to do in order to get into it. Then I started reading some books, and
Yeah.
getting it. So right now I'm exploring the screenwriting area, but eventually I want to explore the filmmaking process and how the economy works. If I could produce something, what it is. So it's totally new for me. So I'm still like getting into it, but being closer to the location always helps. Uh, and I think that's so currently I'm just in like I'm learning some skills so that I can offer something, and I'm making a networking so that I can probably like ask for something. Uh, but yeah, I mean, depends on what kind of field you wanna get into. There are always the steps. You always go to the guy and or girl and just ask them like how they achieved that and what to get. Like in coding, like in the coding world, you go with the cracking the coding interview book, and then you start from that, then you go to lead code, and then you go to the job. So it's kind of fairly simple for all other fields. So of course, yes, there is going to be the money crunch problem. So I wanted to make sure that I'm comfortable enough before getting into this field because there is uncertainty.
Yeah.
So yeah, but currently I'm still exploring. I am still getting out of my sabbatical zone, but I'm hoping to start some internship soon. And if that works out well, then I'll probably like start working somewhere and go and learn things here.
So, how is life in India? It's been almost getting close to a year.
Mhm.
And anything that you miss in US versus like some of the challenges or life in India in general, like how has been your experience so far?
Uh, I mean, life is good. I mean, I've been loving it. I while moving, I was like totally not sure if this is gonna be for me or not because everyone keeps on saying that, oh, you're not gonna get used to India once you lived in US for these many years. But I don't like I didn't find that true. I mean, I'm like I like the life here in general. So of course you can't expect the exact things that you had in US, but you also have so many other things that you're gonna get exposed to. So I have so much time in my hand, I have so much freedom, the weather is pretty good outside, and then I think the community based society is always different than like individualistic society. Both has its pros and cons, but now that I learned how to live individualistic life, I think I can implement those in the community based society life. So I think there are like, yeah, pros and cons on both sides. You just have to choose what works for you and how you're gonna work it out. So for example, like that's why I decided to live in Mumbai, specifically in Bandra, which is more exposed to the Western world. The people around here are more exposed to that world. So there are like a lot of like most of the things I used to get in US, I get it here
Yeah.
within 5 to 10 minutes. And then the people I'm gonna meet around are gonna be in the creative field or in the somewhere. Some of them are gonna be expats. So there is a big expat group that has a meetups every month. So things like those. So I decided to be where I would feel that this is gonna be my community, or this is gonna where I can make my community.
Yeah.
Uh, so overall, like that part is good. And there are of course some challenges when you move to the new place anyways, but since I grew up around here, I think I was familiar with it. So yeah.
That's good. So, any advice that you can share for people who are considering to move to India from your perspective?
um Yeah, I mean, if you're in US, make sure you have I-140 approved, so that even if you regret, even if you feel like, oh, this is not working out, you can easily go back and you can approach any company. They will be happy to send you back probably. And try to don't burn the bridges in the US and just keep those door open if in case move back. Just that is just for US though. And another thing for US citizens would be like that. I saw your post recently on your page about 40 points rule of social security. So you had to complete those 40 points in order to get the social security benefits. So I don't think it's a big deal, but if you work for 8 years and if you are like close to it, you might just wanna finish those 40 points and then move because it's a big amount to let go. Or you can also go back to US whenever you want and finish that 40 point. as long as you have I-140 approved and you are in the same field. Since
Yep.
I was gonna leave the tech, I decided to live little bit longer, like few months, and go into the January until I leave my job so that I can accumulate those points. Those are two things specifically for US folks. Um, Other than that, I think we shouldn't like romanticize idea of living anywhere. I did that while going to US, and I was disappointed because it's okay. The life is good, but it has pros and cons. You have to look at it, and a lot of people do that while moving back to India. So that's not really gonna work. It's gonna disappoint you in many ways. So always try to like list out pros and cons list, compare what are important things to you and what are not, and then make the rational decision more than emotional one, because both sides has pros and cons, and you have to make sure that where you will get frustrated less.
Yes.
So for me, like that H1B trap was a frustration, and I was like, no, even if I move to India and I don't do anything crazy with my career, that's fine. But I won't have regret about what if, right?
Yeah.
So that was more than my comfort, my single family house or car, whatever those. So I had my pros and cons on my list. So maybe do that. And another thing that helped me a lot, that couple of years back, I came to India. For 3 months I took like unpaid leave,
Yeah.
and I did a trial run, kind of like, I mean, I just wanted to see like how my life is now that I have money. Then it actually like changed my perspective, because the life I lived growing up was very different, because I came from a middle class family. But when I saw the 1% life in India, it is way better. It's way different, and it has a lot things to offer. And I think I lived with my friends in different cities, and saw how their jobs are and how their lifestyles are, and I liked it. I was like, this is good. This is not like bad as I was imagining,
Yeah.
not at all. Like, I mean, it was actually better than in a lot of senses. So if you really are in doubt, maybe just do the trial run, take
Yeah.
a short-term leave or whatever, and live for like a couple of months at least. Even if you are gonna spend money on this trial, you can always live 3 months longer in US to cover that cost. But you won't have regret in general that, oh, I should have probably do this or that. Um, but yeah, another thing is like, if you decide to move to India, don't buy a house and move to India, because there's so much like possibilities of you living anywhere, and the renting yield is so low that it makes sense to just start with the rental, and see where you see yourself in next few years. If the city works for you, and if the city works for you, the neighborhoods are going to be so away from each other. Then if you end up getting a job in some other neighborhood,
Yeah.
you're gonna spend a lot of time on traveling, especially if you're in city like Bangalore or Mumbai, maybe,
Yeah.
so I think probably just start with the rental, they get the idea of it, and once you're comfortable, then you can probably think about it in future. But yeah, those are the few things I would say. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
a lot of valid, helpful insights there. Thanks a lot, Tejas.
Mhm.
So thank you very much, Tejas, for taking the time and sharing your fire story, what made you to move, how the life has been in India for you, and
Mhm.
especially giving some insights on the fire numbers, right? How much it would cost to live in India now, and also some of the examples that you had from your trial run. When you look at your friends' lifestyles, your lifestyle, that's very helpful. So thanks a lot, and thank you very much for sharing your journey with us on our podcast.
Thanks a lot, Avinash, for inviting me on your podcast. And yeah, I mean, I wished I could find a resource like this last year when I was deciding it, because one of my major challenge while deciding it was who to ask, because I knew no one who moved to India. And then people thinks that, oh, that's a crazy idea. Why would you do that? No one does that. So I was like, but why no one does that? I didn't know that. And then later, like this year, I found your page and I was like, oh man, like I wish I could have someone to validate my
Yeah,
decision. But it's not a crazy idea. It's
it's not
totally
a
fine.
crazy. Yeah. There are a lot
Yeah.
of people who are moving, but it's a minority, but still there are a lot of people who moves, and it's not a crazy idea at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that number is growing lately because this year, four of my friends decided to move to India, and they are actually moving. And even after when I moved, like some of the people in US, they called me and they're like, "Oh, we've been thinking about it since years. How is it?" And then once I told them, they are actually like considering moving now.
Yeah,
So it's all about, I think, that blocker that you had, and I think probably the things were different in India, maybe 20 or 10 years back.
definitely.
That's why like probably Indians back then didn't really move here, but now things are changing. The entrepreneurship world, the startup world, you have a lot of problems to solve in general in India. So if you wanna even if you don't make money same as your job in US, you're still gonna have a lot of fulfillment out of that job because you're gonna make an impact, you're gonna make a change where you live. So those are probably things that matters to me personally. So yeah.
Definitely, yes. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.